Hello friends, I'm really super stoked because with me Dr. Deb Group who is the VP HR for MSPL Limited, the complete group with 8 different businesses is here. Hello, welcome to this show.
Hi Dr. Mangesh.
So nice of you, thank you. And generally, you know what happens, these days we are seeing many leading HR heads of different companies, they believe that NLP has got an application. NLP, we talk about neuro-linguistic programming. And let me tell you, my dear friends, Dr. Das have used neuro-linguistic programming, the elements of neuro-linguistic programming in many of the HR interventions he has rolled out through his career. Let us listen it directly from him. How did he make the scientific use of neuro-linguistic programming for achieving the desired result in organizations? So, to you, my first question to you is that during your such a long term of tenure of HR career, you have used neuro-linguistic programming, the elements of neuro-linguistic programming in the scientific way to find out the results in many of the interventions. First, I would like to know, what are the specific elements of NLP you have used and seen it has given you results?
Thanks Dr. Mangesh for asking a very relevant question. So over the years when I design and implement very strategic HR initiatives, I find NLP is a very powerful tool. First, my fundamental belief is that whatever you do, your outcome is very important, and this outcome has to be measured. So gone are the days when we are talking of an event-based model. Now it is going to be a process-based model. So NLP has really helped me in achieving the desired outcome. In many of the HR processes, let's say you are engaging a newcomer, or you are designing a training program, you are designing a OD interventions, you are initiating a performance conversation.
Absolutely.
You are setting a goal, right, for individual goal, and you are aligning yourself to the larger business goal of the organization.
Yes.
Everywhere I find the application tools of NLP.
Wonderful. And like I know you have run OD interventions based on the principle of NLP. You have engaged the principles of NLP when you have inducted people to the organization, when you have handled conflict issues in the corporate, when you have aligned people with the career progression and many other areas. I would like to particularly know, and my audience will definitely like to know, how use of NLP in OD interventions has been rolled out by you.
Again, it's a very good question. So I want to share one example in a greenfield project. When we have implemented a NLP based coaching model, what we have decided is that we have noticed some of the dysfunctional behaviors for some of the leaders, which has actually impacted the performance of the people down below the line. Then we expose them to an NLP workshop. We give them some application tools. Although we talk about the many concepts, right, like shifting from problem thinking to outcome thinking.
Okay.
We call it is a possibility thinking.
Absolutely.
Right? Then understanding the internal model of the individual, because every individual is unique.
Right.
The internal map is unique. So
Absolutely.
What exactly the representative systems that you need to understand? One important thing that is very important for us at that point of time to realize is one technique that we call test operate and test exit.
Wow, TOTE model. Yeah, that's very interesting.
So
yes.
that's what we find, in a project, when people fail, they should not be stopped.
Absolutely.
There are different alternatives they should think of. So what we done, then we expose them to a coaching model.
Right.
Then once they complete the coaching model, then again they are assigned with a group of mentees.
Okay, that's interesting.
And we build that rapport between the group of the mentees and the coach. We build that rapport and start that NLP based interventions for over 6 months.
Wow.
And we find there's a drastic change.
Wonderful.
Because this is a process where we build the rapport. This is a process where mentee and the mentor, they understand each other. They contribute to the business.
That's very interesting, because the whole achievement takes into the process called as TOTE, test, operate, test, exit, which in itself talks about, as Dr. Das was talking, the internal models of the world, rapport building, creating processes that takes the perception is projection into consideration, and quite many similar aspects. Let us see that, since the OD intervention has been based on the completely application of neuro-linguistic programming, let us also learn from Dr. Das, how has he integrated NLP in the process of recruitment?
Again, this is a very good question you have asked. So recruitment, actually traditionally what we use the psychometric profiling and all the online assessments. That's okay. But when you are observing one candidate, right? So when you are observing, you need to identify the individual attributes. You need to find out the referential systems.
Yes, I agree.
Right? And you need to find out what exactly is the learning style. So relevant questions need to be asked, and you can also do a test to find out the individual learning style.
That's interesting.
And for different roles, what exactly is the thinking? That's very important.
Yes.
Suppose you are hiring a senior position, we always look for a competency that we call strategic thinking.
Absolutely.
Then you give them some problem and actually find out whether the person is in a position to generate, possibility thinking.
Wow.
Is the person in a position to think about a technique in NLP called the HOGS?
Yes.
Hugely unbelievable great goals.
Yes.
And last but not the least, the possibility, affirmation and worthiness.
Yes.
Pause, another technique is there. So those things can be clubbed as a part of a competency-based interview using a technique called STAR.
Yes.
That's a very, very famous technique.
Absolutely.
We use as an interviewer. So
Yes.
you can formulate this questionnaires to find out this particular HOGS, pause, the individual learning style, the referential system. So that's very much possible, and it is more important for a senior level hiring.
Wow. That's a great learning, isn't it? Like as Dr. Das told, HOGS, pause, and also inclusion of those elements that can talk about whether the answer being given by a candidate is as per alignment with the STAR method of interview, which is otherwise known as the behavior event interviews. It is aligning to that or not. So I also have heard about you, like a lot of people they tell, you also use processes like feedback mechanism, sandwich feedback, and other aspects in performance management system, where as per the NLP ideas. Would you like to throw some of the lights how you use that in the performance management systems?
Thanks, Dr. Mangesh. I think it is a topic which is very core to my heart. So for performance management, I feel the conversation is a must.
Absolutely.
It plays a very, very vital role. Be
Yes.
it a goal setting process, be it a
Yeah.
performance review or evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
Here you need to follow three important methods that I have learned from NLP.
Wow.
One is that how you are actually reframing.
Interesting.
When you are giving a feedback, I can say you have failed miserably, right?
Right.
Is there a scope for content reframing?
Oh wow, that's really interesting.
Can it be done better?
Yes.
This is a content reframing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Second, when you are talking about the goals, performance goals, and you are talking of the alignment and integration, these two dimensions are very, very important. Again, you need to, in your conversation, you need to follow a process of chunking down and chunking off.
Wow, hierarchy of ideas we're talking about. Interesting.
Right? So, my broad organizational objective is this. From the broad organizational objectives, you have to use a chunking down method to take your appraisee to the next level, one level lower, second level lower, third level lower, where the appraisee is really, aligned himself or herself to the larger organizational objective.
Absolutely.
You can also get ideas from your appraisee through a chunking up method.
Wow.
Then, through a mutual consent, you can freeze the goal of the appraisee.
Very interesting.
So these three things are very, very important. How actually you are doing the conversation very meaningfully, how you are actually doing the reframing technique for giving the feedback, and how you are very effectively setting the goals through chunking up and chunking down methods.
I love this, isn't it? The three things he mentioned in performance appraisal, where there is a direct application, is framing of communication in NLP. Second, about hierarchy of ideas, where we go to the surface structure, deep structure by chunking up and chunking down. And third, interestingly, he also mentioned about, when you are talking about how are you reframing. So these are definitely a very interesting application in the process of neuro-linguistic programming and HR interventions. I would also like to know, as I was going through the document, I saw that your PhD is on strategy and learning. How learning can be strategized for better. And I also have seen that in that you have spoken about certain application of neuro-linguistic programming, like when somebody wants to learn how the representative system takes information, then how the model is being formed, and various other aspects. Would you like to throw some light on that as well?
Yeah, sure. Why not? So my PhD thesis is all about a topic called Employee Connect. So Employee Connect is one of the fundamental enablers for employee engagement.
Absolutely.
So what I have proved through my research finding or through a validation technique that connection doesn't happen randomly.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
So for connection, there are certain precursors. Okay. So first is the fit.
Yes.
You have to be culturally fit.
Mm-hmm.
Skill-wise, you have to be fit.
Yeah.
Then once you are fit, then you have to develop a sense of belongingness.
Only
If the sense of belongingness comes, then there will be connect. Connection happens broadly at 4 levels.
Mm-hmm.
Connection with the organizational mission, vision and value.
Absolutely.
Right? And that you can find in the neurological level top, right? There is a purpose.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Second, the connection with the leadership, because leadership are the person who can give you the strategic agenda.
Absolutely.
Third is the connection with peers.
Yes.
Fourth is the connection with resources.
Interesting.
Again, resources will find is a part of your neurological level.
Absolutely.
Once there is a connection, then it is found that people whose level of connection is higher, right? They perform.
That's interesting.
Okay. And another thing what I have observed during different conversation, and in case of one new joinee, I want to just share one example. We hired a very brilliant candidate from one good campuses in the country.
Mm-hmm.
After 3 months, when we started reviewing the performance, he was not up to the mark.
Okay.
Then we did a brainstorming. What is going actually wrong?
Okay.
The business head was very worried. So he called me to his cabin one day. He said, Dr. Dev, you go and diagnose why it is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Then what I realized, and it was a absolutely, I applied the NLP learnings, then I find immediate manager was not in a position to pace with the person. He was leading.
Wow.
So I think we have learned a technique called pacing which I was leading. Right?
Yes.
Whenever a newcomer is joining an organization, irrespective of the competency level of the reporting boss, he or she needs to pace himself or herself with the newcomer.
That's quite interesting.
This is number one. Second thing what I find, the frame of reference of that new joinee, right? He was more believing into external frame of reference, not internal frame of reference.
Yes.
So when he was doing very good work, very good project, immediate manager was not in a position to recognize it. He was not paying attention towards it. Therefore, the person was getting demotivated.
Yes.
Third thing what I realized that if I look to the individual learning styles, right? There I find that person was a kinesthetic learner.
Wow.
So kinesthetic learner take time to assimilate information.
Absolutely.
They are not like auditory learner.
Absolutely.
They are not like visual learners.
Absolutely.
But the expectation of the reporting boss was entirely different.
Yes.
He has not realized that.
Yes.
He was expecting everything to follow the instruction immediately.
Wow.
So when I talk with both of them, I find these are the gaps. Then I have to counsel, the reporting boss that it is not wrong with his competency. The guy is a very bright guy. You have to now, tweak your style, tweak your leadership style. After 6 months, again we have given certain projects, and the reporting boss has changed his style. He accepted it.
Wow.
Because it was a counseling, we have to do it. Dedicatedly for 4 months we have to do it, because that candidate was a very bright candidate from one of the best campuses of the country.
Wow.
After 6 months, this new person who joined, he has created miracle. He has delivered certain projects which nobody has done earlier.
That's quite interesting, isn't it? You might have seen Dr. Das was talking about very interestingly that leading should happen after pacing, right? And the example he gave that pacing was not proper and leading has been done. So that's one of the guiding principles of neuro-linguistic programming. He also mentioned about an idea which is called as a frame of reference. Are we exactly connecting with the model of the world of the client or not? That is something interesting he mentioned. And third thing which I just loved about, he was talking about flexibility. Even the reporting officer to whom the person was reporting, he was flexible to change any additions to his processes, and that he did. That's why you see application of neuro-linguistic programming is so successful. Dr. Das, I'm curious to know one more thing. Last many years, NLP has been seen as a tool of therapists primarily. These years, I have seen from 2020 onwards, NLP has come to the corporate world a lot. We have observed almost all senior leaders, almost all corporate coaches, trainers, sales home coach, as well as performance enhancement catalyst may be available in any of the roles they are playing in the corporate. They all have been using the tools of NLP knowingly or unknowingly.
That's right.
Why is it that NLP is the most preferred, or the elements of NLP are the most preferred tools in these years and the years to come as compared to many other tools?
See, first of all, I find, whatever, be it HR or other things, there is a science and there is a art.
Yes.
We used to understand the art part earlier.
Yes.
Now it is the day to understand the science.
Wow,
to
I'm
validate the
quite
model.
connected to this.
To validate the model.
Yes.
Right? Because whatever you are going to do today, be it executive coaching, be it mentoring program, be it OD interventions, be it performance management, you are accountable for the result.
Absolutely.
So the board of directors will definitely ask, what exactly you have given benefit to the business.
Wow.
So before you do anything, it is important to actually look for an end outcome. Whatever interventions you run, if you cannot establish a rapport with your leaders or with your managerial population or with anybody who is undergoing a program, I think it will be a failure.
Yes.
I cannot find a better tool than NLP to establish a rapport.
Wow.
This is the first and foremost requirement. Second thing, as I have realized, yes, you are absolutely right, Dr. Mangesh. There are some leaders who might not be knowing NLP.
Yes.
But whatever they are doing, right? I have interacted with many such leaders, and I analyzed, yes, they are only applying the all principles of NLP.
I completely agree with this, Dr.
They are
Das.
following the presuppositions of NLP. Only.
Absolutely. I love this. And when you were talking about the presuppositions of NLP.
So my suggestion, whether as a HR professional or as an NLP practitioner, I feel it's time now to actually, share our application of learnings with a larger mass.
Yes. And what is your view on when you talk about, many people they ask, is NLP scientific? Knowing that it gives result. So what is your view on that? What will be your suggestion to this idea? Is NLP scientific?
It is 1000% scientific, and whatever the examples I have given, be it a behavioral issue, be it a performance improvement issue, be it a OD intervention. Take for example, now we are running a mentoring initiative.
Yes.
See, I have also run mentoring initiative in most of the companies where I earlier worked. I have reviewed literature. But today, what we are doing, applying NLP, it is unique. So what we have done, we have called both mentor and mentee right from the day one to establish the rapport. It's very important.
Yes.
And after the first day of the session, I am finding both my mentor and mentees, they have established the rapport.
Yes.
So now I am not worried which mentor will be linked to which mentee. What is more important, there is cross learning. There are senior leaders are there, their mentees are there. So they must learn, and this is possible if and only if there is rapport.
Yeah.
So NLP is really helping us to build the rapport, and this is a must before you think anything, design anything. This is 100% scientific, and NLP has a great future, and NLP can be linked to every interventions what we can design in the corporate.
Interesting. As you see, Dr. Das has been running NLP based interventions for quite a number of years. In case anytime you want to stay in connect with him, I will share his email, mostly other coordinates. You must connect with him. I have seen a lot of senior group HR heads using NLP, and the kind of clarity he has got is amazing. We will be again inviting Dr. Das to some of our future programs, and I assure you will have amazing learning from him. Thank you, Dr. Das.
Thank you, Dr. Das.
So nice.